What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. Doing this one on StreamYard just because I want to be able to show you guys some clips off of Twitter, and I wasn't having much success doing it on OBS. I also think I set this up as a live by accident at first, and then I changed it to a record, so still getting used to the StreamYard. I screw up sometimes. But in this video, I wanted to go over the Daniel Jeremiah mock, talk about who he had going where. I do think Jeremiah is one of the best in terms of his mock drafts. He's more accurate, it seems, than a lot of people. Of course, it's very early in the process. This is more so just for fun and to get to learn some of the team needs and do the process. I will be doing my first round mock draft probably after the Super Bowl, after we find out who our head coach is going to be, the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, so on and so forth. I'll do an entire first round mock draft. Of course, the New York Giants are picking at 5 and 7. We all know this is a very, very important draft for the New York Giants to hit home with. Before I pull up the draft, let's talk about team needs. We all know, and we've talked about it extensively, that at least I think the biggest need right now for this team is the offensive line. Now, you could argue, some people may, that you could get value on the line. Some people may say, well, you could probably get them round 2, round 3. I've heard people tell me that the Buffalo Bills don't have a single first-round offensive lineman on their line, to which I would say their offensive line is not great. But yes, a very good GM could find value on the line. He could find good value pretty much at any position outside of arguably the quarterback position. Generally speaking, you want to take them early no matter what. But I think it's our biggest need. If you look at our line right now, the only good lineman that we know is Andrew Thomas, and even he has had injury problems. Outside of that, on the offense, I think tight end is going to be a need. Certainly something you're not going to be taking in the first, but when I do my 7-round mock drafts, I'll for sure be taking a tight end in the 3rd to 4th round area, more than likely, due to the fact that the New York Giants will be more than likely moving on from Evan Ingram and probably cutting ties with Kyle Rudolph. We could certainly use another wide receiver as well. I just don't think that it's going to be in the New York Giants' best interest to take one in the first round. And some people will definitely argue that we could use a quarterback. And we will go over the quarterbacks for this draft process. You guys know my opinion on the matter, but I will tell you guys the quarterback that I prefer the most in this draft if the New York Giants decided to go that route. On the defensive side, I think we definitely need an edge for sure. It's something that we've needed for a very long time. And we really need a do-it-all middle linebacker. We really do. I think that you can at least argue that that's our biggest need on the defensive side. The cornerback position, we don't know if James Bradbury is going to be retained or not, but we could certainly use a cornerback for sure for future purposes, if not for the here and now, if we do move on from Bradbury. And yeah, I would say those are probably our 3 biggest needs on the defensive side. The way I would rank it is probably linebacker / edge as our top 2 needs going into the draft. And people are going to have their arguments going in, whether or not we should double up on the line, whether or not we should take a quarterback, whether or not we should go defense. So it's going to be a fun process. There's going to be a lot of ways that the New York Giants could go. We could certainly trade down as well if there's a partner. In this mock, Daniel Jeremiah did not do that. This was his order. I'm only going to go over the first 15 picks. I'm not going to do the full 30. And I'll give some minor input to some of the selections. Number 1 pick, he had Jacksonville taking Evan Neal. This is actually a pick that I have not seen a lot of people mock, that if I was doing a mock today and probably in my first mock, I will probably have the same. If not having Jacksonville trade back. If you're a Jaguars fan watching this, you may not be in love with taking a tackle number 1 overall, but I do think it's the best move for the Jacksonville Jaguars. There's not a high-end wide receiver prospect in this class, and I think the most important thing is to try to help Trevor Lawrence as best as you can. Lawrence, of course, struggled this past year with the Jaguars. If you could go out there and get a high-end left tackle prospect, I think that's something that if you're a Jaguars fan that you have to at least entertain. Number 2, they have Aiden Hutchinson going to the Detroit Lions. I'd probably have the same. Makes sense, staying at home. The Michigan prospect going to the Detroit Lions could certainly use another edge rusher. So makes a lot of sense there. Most people have him going top 2 or 3 in every draft. Then you got Kyle Hamilton, which I guess is the first moderate surprise. But Hamilton, by most people's standards, may be the best player in this draft. If you look at most experts, they have him as the best overall player. The problem is he plays safety, which is usually not a position, in terms of high demand at the top of a draft. Jamal Adams did go relatively high, though, to the New York Jets. I think he was a top 5 pick about 4 or 5 years ago. Kayvon Thibodeau going to the Jets, which I think is a slam dunk pick if he's available. A lot of people think he's the best player in this draft. So if the Jets could get themselves a high-end edge rusher at 4, I think you go and do it, which is going to turn us to the Giants, and they're going to have him taken, I think it's Ikem Ekwonu. I think that's how it's pronounced. I've heard some people pronounce him Ikem. His nickname, I think, is Ikey. But Ekwonu, I've watched this guy play. He's a tackle prospect out of NC State. I'm going to show you some clips after I go over the full mock draft. But Ekwonu is a prospect that I love to watch, okay? A lot of people project him actually to be better served as a guard, which the New York Giants could certainly use as well. But you would think if the Giants took him this high, they'd at least think he's capable of playing the right tackle. And don't forget that people said the same thing about Tristan Wirfs. Wirfs right now is an all-pro right tackle, or at least a near all-pro right tackle for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. When he was coming out, a lot of people thought he would be best suited to be a guard. So that doesn't necessarily mean that Ekwonu can't get the job done on the right tackle spot for the New York Giants. He is a mauler in terms of being a run blocker. Pass protection needs to work on a bit for sure. I've watched several film breakdowns of him. A lot of analysts talk about how, his footwork, his technique needs to get a little bit better in terms of pass protection. But the guy's a mauler in the run game, and to me is probably the meanest offensive lineman in this year's draft class. Like I said, I'll show you guys some clips after I go over the full mock. Since you got Ahmad Gardner going, I think it's pronounced Ahmad Gardner. I haven't really looked into him too much. Going to the Carolina Panthers, a cornerback. They could go quarterback here. They go a lot of ways, but they got him going with a corner. Then the New York Giants at 7, they have him taking Devin Lloyd. Then you have Traylon Burks, Kenny Pickett, Trent McDuffie, Matt Corral, the first quarterback off the board to the Washington football team. Stingley, who was going top 5 in a lot of mocks, goes all the way down to 12 in Jeremiah's mock to the Minnesota Vikings. The Cleveland Browns take Trayvon Walker, Trevor Penning, and George Karlaftis going to the Eagles with their first of 3 picks. I do think the Eagles will go heavy defense in this draft. In terms of our pick, Devin Lloyd, the linebacker out of Utah, he's a prospect I absolutely love. And a lot of people may definitely argue that this is probably a little bit too early to take a linebacker. What I will say to that is we've seen linebackers go relatively high, and I do think linebackers are really important. Would this be the guy that I would take there? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not too sure. What was interesting here is they didn't have Linderbaum going in the top 15, which is entirely possible due to the fact that he's a center. Jeremiah didn't have him going in the top 15 picks. I still think he'll go higher than that. In an ideal scenario, the New York Giants are able to trade down from 7. We just don't know if that's going to be a possibility based off the talent in the quarterback pool of this year's draft class. But if the Giants end up with Lloyd, I'm not going to be upset. Let's put it that way. He's definitely a do-it-all linebacker. And, I'm only going to show you guys one clip off of Twitter, but if you go and do your research on him, I think he's certainly capable of being a multifaceted linebacker. He's actually really good in coverage. He had a number of interceptions. I think he had like 5 or 6 this past year. I'll go in more detail of him when I do like a draft profile breakdown video, but he seems to be pretty good in pass coverage. He's electric off the edge at times. He blitzes well up the middle, and he is just a hard hitter, and he's very athletic. I don't want to put these kind of expectations on him if the Giants draft him, but he does remind me of Micah Parsons when I watch him on film, like that type of skill set. And I think a lot of Giants fans would be super excited if we were to draft a player like that. Some Giants fans, of course, want to double up on the offensive line, something I would not be upset about at all if you watch my channel. In the end, though, like I've said for a while now, I think the Giants will go with a lineman with one of their first 2 picks and go defense with the other, but that's just a guessing game, and we're going to get, closer and closer to what the probability of the answer may be as the draft fast approaches, when we hear rumors, when we hear what the team has to say, when we see what they do in free agency, the players that they cut. But right now, that's kind of where my head is at. I think the Giants are going to go with a lineman because it's a definitive need with one of those 2 picks, and they'll go with the best available defensive player with the other. And then in the second round, maybe you double up with a lineman, but we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. In terms of the prospects themselves, I just wanted to give you guys a quick look at Ekwonu, and then we'll take a quick look at Devin Lloyd. I'm going to show you guys a couple of clips. Just bear with me as I expand it on Ekwonu, a guy that I love watching. And if you're a fan of offensive linemen, and you're probably going to love watching him play too. The guy is super, super, super nasty. This is going to be him here at the left tackle position. I think his number 79 here in the white uniform. Watch him just maul this guy. And he gets to the second level, he just throws him down like a rag doll. And this is something that you're going to see time and time again when you look over film and highlights of Ekwonu. It's just the type of player he is. Like, here's another one right here. Same thing. He's going to be on the left side right here, number 79, white uniform. Look at him. He's throwing an offensive lineman down. That's another pancake block. I think he had 150 pancake blocks this year. But look at him just push him back like he's nothing. I love watching this guy play. And then one more I wanted to show you guys as well was another clip that was right here. Like I said, you can find several film breakdowns of this guy on YouTube. This is him here, the nearest lineman to us on this play. Same thing. Look at him bounce off the defensive end. Then he gets to the second level and he I think that's a safety or a linebacker. He just throws him like 5 yards back. And then he lands on top of him for good measure. So that's Ekwonu. And yeah, like I said, a fun prospect to watch. And one of my favorite players in this draft for sure. So I wanted to show you guys him. And then I wanted to show you guys just a quick clip of Lloyd. And just, I think what this clip does, and like I said, there's several other clips that you could show. I'm only going to show you one. But I think what this clip shows of Lloyd is just his quick break to the play and just his quick first step, man. And he's super athletic for an inside linebacker. You can do so many things with him. He's right here. He's number 0 on this play on the left side. And watch him just break towards the ball carrier and just explode. It looks like a shark going after his prey. Oh. Oh, I love watching that. Look at that. Oh, man. He sent him 6 feet to the right. I got to see that one more time before we close this out. I got to see that one more time. Look at this hit. Oh. And like I said, very capable of rushing the passer off the edge. Good in coverage. Definitely a prospect that I at least have my eye on. I'd probably prefer to take him closer to like the 10 to 15 range if the New York Giants were to trade down. And people have Lloyd going in that area for the most part in a lot of these mocks. But a guy that I really like, and he is personally my favorite linebacker in this year's draft class. But I just wanted to go over Daniel Jeremiah's mock at 5 and 7 for his first mock, which I'm sure will be 12. He has Ike Ekwonu, and he has Devin Lloyd, the middle linebacker prospect out of Utah. Definitely take a look if you guys haven't had those guys. We still got 3 months before the draft of a lot of draft content up as the draft fast approaches. But those are 2 guys I looked at, about 2-3 weeks ago. A lot of you guys have told me some of the guys you want me to look at, and those are 2 guys that I personally like. Wouldn't be my choices, specifically Lloyd at 7, but I wouldn't be upset if we got him. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe. Drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.